and we dealt with, education reform, and that dealt with, charter schools and vouchers and merit pay and collective bargaining and teacher evaluation but I just think overall, and that was a big topic, and I'm kind of touching on that, but it's something where, again, we're all looking for improvement. And when you look at it, it's a national thing, not just the state of Indiana. And when you look at, what's happening in DC and Detroit and Chicago and LA and the bigger cities, it seems like, some of those kids, get lost. But as I tell people, and I know Jim agrees with this too, but back in November, we got elected in November the 2nd. 2 weeks after that, we go up to the State House and we took an oath on the 16th of November at 1:30 in the afternoon. And each of us, we stood up and we, repeat after me, type of thing. And it didn't say Jim Baird or Bob Heaton, but we as a group said we will uphold the Constitution and we will represent the citizens of Indiana. Okay, we didn't say Bob Heaton, you just represent District 46, Jim Baird, you represent District 44, Bruce Borders 45, No, we represent everybody, okay? So it's not, because my daughter, you see, lives 4 miles north of District 46. She's in District 43, Clyde Kersey's district. Clyde's from Terre Haute, State Representative Kersey's in Terre Haute. Well, for 35 and a half days, my daughter didn't have Clyde Kersey to return any phone calls to her if she had a problem. He bolted, got out of here. And that's one thing, Jim Baird, myself, I will never do, because I got elected to represent the people. And so, it's unfortunate, they finally came back and, we got things done and so forth. But one thing I wanted to point out is that there were 647 roll call votes, okay, that we dealt with this past year. Even though we weren't in session for 35 days, we got a lot done. We really did. And there's a lot of things in here. I looked at it when I got this a few weeks ago. I'm sure Jim did too. And just kind of to touch on some of this stuff. One thing that our speaker, Jim, I don't see him, he was over there, but okay, he made a comment about, we had 35,000 state employees in 1978, and now we're down to 29,000, maybe a little below that even. So when we look at the state, we have, 6,000 less people in the last 31, 32 years that's on the payroll. And as I tell people, I said, to me, that's a good thing. Because that means we as taxpayers only have to pay less money to the state, because that overhead is not this much, it's this much. Okay? And sometimes people forget, who's actually paying the bills. It's not us lawmakers up here. It's you people. You people at the coffee shop. You guys down at the street corner or something. That reminds me of a story in Putnamville. A good buddy of mine worked at Putnamville Correctional Facility, and this goes back about 2.5, 3 years. And I was on Lloyd's advisory board, and so he wanted me to come up there along with about eight others. And this was right before Thanksgiving, and so we had a nice meal up here at the correctional facility, turkey and all that stuff. And so at that time, he taught auto mechanics. And Lloyd says, well, guys, what do you think of that free meal? Hey, Lloyd, hey, that wasn't a free meal. I said, those people at the coffee shop this morning I was with helped pay for that meal. You see, but he's been up there a long time that he forgets that. I said, here, these lights in your shop, Lloyd, paid by taxpayers. They're not free electricity. Okay, you see, so I think sometimes people lose touch. They forget about that. You know, the old saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, certainly not up there at the correctional facility, but in a lot of places in general, you see. So it's kind of that mindset you have. We sometimes have to change that. But, you know, and that goes back, I'm kind of jumping around and so on and so forth, this type of thing, but when we talk about mindset, you know, my mom and dad, you know, taught us, my two brothers and sister, we grew up, about 4 miles southeast of Corey in a small farm, 78 acres at the time, and still in the family today after 120 years. But you know, we had cows and pigs and chickens and laid eggs and that type of thing. We also, speaking of chickens, we raised our own chickens. So we'd get these little chickens, raise them, and we'd kill them, and 150 of them or whatever. We'd freeze the chicken and so forth, and eat it later on. But you know, we had a big garden. We did some canning and that type of thing. But that's how me as a punk kid grew up in the country, and we didn't make a Terre Haute that much back in the 60s. You know, me and my two brothers were big for our size, and so we started helping the area farmers make, you know, bale hay, and we mowed grass and that type of thing. But our parents, what I'm getting at is our parents taught us kids the value of $1. And we mowed grass one time, and I remember one time I was probably out 11 years old or whatever, but I probably had $80 out on the floor. And I thought I was the richest 11-year-old in the world. You know, but it was just, but again, but I sweated. I might have cut my finger and bled a little bit to earn that $1. And I think that's the basics, and that's what I want to teach my kids and my grandkids. You know, to learn the value of $1, and that they got to work for it. They got to get off their little butt and get out there and pick up sticks, and we'll pay them 50 cents or whatever to do that, whatever the case may be. Now, to me, that's just basic life. That's the way it ought to be. But in some cases, you know, people grow up and they've got their hand out ever since they were this tall. And they grow up after all those years and they still have their hand out. And you know, we all know some people who do that, but it boils down to you gotta work. If I'm a good insurance agent and I'm on commission, you know, I sell a lot of insurance, I make a lot of money. We go to nice places on vacation, my wife and I, but the last few years it hadn't been that way, and guess what? Anniversary, we went to St. Louis for a weekend, and that was it, you know. Got a discount on the hotel, but anyway, that's just the way life is. You know, you make money, and you don't, and so forth, and life goes on. But anyway, it's, but you know, there was a question about, you know, government.